Why comfort is the enemy of growth. Nietzsche's lesson. Friedrich Nietzsche observed something disturbing about modern civilization. As humanity became more comfortable, more secure, more protected from hardship, something essential began to die. Not the body, but the spirit, the drive, the capacity for greatness. He watched comfort seduce entire societies into mediocrity. People chose safety over adventure, security over growth, ease over excellence, and in doing so, they sacrificed their potential for a life of bland contentment. Nietzsche's warning is more relevant today than ever. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. Climate control, food delivery, entertainment on demand. Every inconvenience eliminated. Every discomfort avoided. Every challenge optional. But this comfort comes at a price. A price most people don't recognize until it's too late. The price is your potential, your strength, your capacity to become something extraordinary. Comfort doesn't just prevent growth. It actively destroys it. Slowly, imperceptibly, completely. Understanding Nietzsche's lesson about comfort isn't about glorifying suffering. It's about recognizing a fundamental truth. Growth requires resistance. Strength develops through struggle. Excellence emerges from difficulty. And when you eliminate all resistance, all struggle, all difficulty, you eliminate the possibility of becoming anything more than you already are. The seduction of comfort. Comfort is seductive because it feels like success. When you achieve comfort, it seems like you've won. You've arrived. You can finally relax, rest, enjoy life. But Nietzsche saw comfort as a trap, not a destination. A comfortable life feels good, but it doesn't produce anything valuable. Not great art, not powerful character, not genuine strength. Comfort produces only more comfort, and the desire for even more comfort. The comfort spiral. Once you taste comfort, you want more. This creates what we might call the comfort spiral. Each level of comfort becomes insufficient. You need the next level, then the next, always seeking more ease, more convenience, more protection from difficulty. The person who gets a comfortable job wants a more comfortable one. The person who achieves financial security wants more. The person who has a safe relationship wants a safer one. The spiral continues, always moving toward more comfort, never stopping to ask what's being lost in the process. Signs you're in the comfort spiral. You make decisions based primarily on avoiding discomfort. Each achievement makes you want more security, not more challenge. You stop taking risks or pursuing difficult goals. You feel vaguely unsatisfied despite having everything you thought you wanted. You've become increasingly sensitive to any form of discomfort or inconvenience. The anesthetic effect. Comfort acts like an anesthetic. It numbs you, not to physical pain, but to life itself. When everything is easy, nothing feels significant. When you never struggle, you never feel truly alive. When you avoid all difficulty, you lose the capacity to appreciate anything deeply. The comfortable life is a numb life. Safe, predictable, but fundamentally hollow. You're not suffering, but you're not thriving either. You exist in a kind of psychological stasis, neither growing nor dying, just maintaining. Why comfort destroys growth. Nietzsche understood that growth isn't just enhanced by difficulty. It requires difficulty. Without resistance, there is no development. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without challenge, there is no excellence. The principle of stress and adaptation. Nietzsche anticipated what modern science now confirms. Living systems grow through stress and adaptation. Muscles grow when they're stressed. Bones strengthen when they bear weight. The immune system develops when challenged by pathogens. This principle applies to everything, including character, personality, Capability. Skills. When you stress a system appropriately, it adapts and grows stronger. When you remove all stress, it atrophies and weakens. Areas where comfort causes atrophy. Physical strength declines without physical challenge. Mental acuity decreases without intellectual difficulty. Emotional resilience weakens without emotional stress. Social skills deteriorate without challenging social situations. Problem-solving ability diminishes without real problems to solve. The loss of necessity. Comfort eliminates necessity, and necessity is the mother of invention. Growth. Change. When you don't need to adapt, you don't. When you don't need to improve, you don't. When you don't need to overcome, you don't. Necessity forces development. It demands that you become more capable, more resourceful, more creative. Comfort removes this forcing function. It allows you to remain as you are, forever, which means you never become what you could be. The softening process. Nietzsche talked about how comfort makes people soft, not just physically, but psychologically, spiritually. When you live in comfort, you lose your edge, your hunger, your drive. The soft person can't handle hardship when it arrives, and it always arrives eventually. They've lost the psychological muscles needed to deal with difficulty, lost the mental toughness needed to push through obstacles, lost the spiritual strength needed to endure suffering. Signs of softening. You're easily overwhelmed by minor inconveniences. You avoid difficult conversations or situations at all costs. You need constant external comfort and validation. You can't tolerate discomfort of any kind for any length of time. You become fragile, easily hurt, easily offended, easily discouraged. The varieties of comfort. Nietzsche's warning applies to multiple forms of comfort. Each creates its own form of stagnation and decline. Physical comfort. The most obvious is physical comfort. Modern life eliminates physical challenge. Climate control, elevators, cars, delivery services, comfortable furniture, soft beds, every physical inconvenience removed. But the body needs physical stress to remain strong. Without it, it degenerates. You don't need to be an athlete, but you need some regular physical challenge, some discomfort, some pushing of physical limits. The person who eliminates all physical discomfort becomes physically weak. This weakness affects everything else. Physical weakness creates mental weakness. Energy levels drop. Confidence decreases. The capacity for sustained effort declines. Intellectual comfort. Intellectual comfort is more insidious. It happens when you stop engaging with difficult ideas, challenging books, complex problems. You consume only entertainment, only content that confirms what you already believe, only ideas that don't challenge you. This creates intellectual atrophy. Your thinking becomes lazy, shallow, predictable. You lose the ability to engage with complexity, to hold multiple perspectives, to think deeply about difficult questions. Signs of intellectual comfort. You avoid books or content that challenges your beliefs. You consume primarily entertainment rather than educational material. You surround yourself with people who think exactly like you. You become angry or defensive when your ideas are questioned. You stop learning new skills or exploring new subjects. Emotional comfort. Emotional comfort happens when you avoid all emotional risk or difficulty. You stay in relationships that are safe but unfulfilling. Avoid difficult conversations. Suppress uncomfortable emotions. Create a life free from emotional intensity or vulnerability. But emotional growth requires emotional challenge, requires feeling things deeply, both pain and joy, requires vulnerability, risk, the possibility of being hurt. When you protect yourself from all emotional discomfort, You also protect yourself from genuine emotional depth and connection. Social comfort. Social comfort is staying only in familiar social situations, with familiar people, never pushing your social boundaries, never risking rejection or judgment, never putting yourself in situations where you might be uncomfortable or out of place. This limits growth tremendously. New experiences, new people, new environments. These are where growth happens. When you stay only in your comfort zone socially, you never develop, never expand, never become more than you already are. The illusion of deserved rest. One of comfort's most seductive lies is that you've earned it. You've worked hard, struggled, achieved. Now you deserve to rest, to relax, to be comfortable. The retirement trap. This thinking creates what we might call the retirement trap. Not just actual retirement, but the psychological retirement that happens when people decide they've done enough, achieved enough, grown enough. Nietzsche would see this as a form of spiritual death, the decision to stop growing, to stop striving, to stop becoming. It doesn't matter if you're 30 or 70. When you decide you're done growing, you've begun dying. Signs you've psychologically retired. You're living primarily on past achievements rather than creating new ones. You've stopped setting challenging goals or pursuing growth. You're more focused on maintaining what you have than creating something new. You avoid anything that would require significant effort or discomfort. You've decided you're too old or too successful to keep growing. The false bargain. Society offers a bargain. Work hard for a few decades. Then you can be comfortable, rest, enjoy. This bargain is a trap, because by the time you've achieved enough comfort to rest, you've lost the capacity to do anything else. You've trained yourself to seek comfort, to avoid difficulty, to resist challenge. You've atrophied the muscles needed for growth. So even if you wanted to pursue something meaningful later, you couldn't. You've made yourself incapable of it. The path of resistance. Nietzsche's alternative to comfort is not suffering for its own sake. It's what he called a more fatty love of fate, including the difficult parts, the uncomfortable parts, the challenging parts, voluntary discomfort. The antidote to comfort is voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing difficulty, not because you have to, but because you understand what comfort costs, and you're unwilling to pay that price. This means seeking out challenges, not avoiding them, pursuing what's difficult, not what's easy, choosing growth over comfort, repeatedly, consistently, as a way of life. Practices of voluntary discomfort, regular physical challenge that pushes your limits, engaging with ideas and people who challenge your thinking. Pursuing goals that require sustained effort and sacrifice. Having difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. Choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. The warrior mentality. Nietzsche admired what he called the warrior mentality. Not literal warriors necessarily, but people who approach life as a challenge to be overcome, rather than a comfort to be achieved. The warrior doesn't avoid difficulty. They seek it because they understand that difficulty is where strength is forged, where character is built, where excellence emerges. This doesn't mean being aggressive or violent. It means being someone who doesn't shy from challenge, who doesn't require comfort to be satisfied, who finds meaning in struggle rather than in ease, seeking the hard thing in every situation. There's an easy option and a hard option, the comfortable choice and the growth choice. Most people default to the easy option. The warrior deliberately chooses the hard one, not to be masochistic, but because they understand that the hard thing is usually the right thing, the thing that leads to growth, the thing that builds character, the thing that creates genuine strength. Examples of choosing the hard thing. Having the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Pursuing the challenging goal instead of the safe one. Learning the complex skill instead of the simple one. taking the path that requires effort instead of the path of least resistance, being honest when lying would be easier, the revaluation of values. Nietzsche called for a revaluation of values, a complete rethinking of what we consider good and bad. This applies directly to comfort. Comfort as vice. In Nietzsche's revaluation, comfort isn't a virtue. It's a vice. Not the worst vice, but a vice nonetheless, because it prevents growth, limits potential, creates weakness. This doesn't mean comfort is always wrong. Rest and recovery are necessary. But when comfort becomes the goal, when it's what you organize your life around, when it's what you sacrifice other values for, that's when it becomes destructive. Questions for revaluation. What am I sacrificing for comfort? What potential am I leaving undeveloped for the sake of ease? What meaningful pursuits am I avoiding because they're difficult? What kind of person am I becoming by choosing comfort over growth? What will I regret when I look back on a comfortable but unchallenging life? Difficulty as virtue. In the revalued system, difficulty isn't something to avoid. It's something to embrace. Not because suffering is good, but because growth is good, and growth requires difficulty. The person who can handle difficulty, who doesn't require comfort, who finds satisfaction in overcoming challenges. This person has a kind of strength and freedom that the comfort seeker can never have. The freedom beyond comfort. Here's Nietzsche's paradox. The person who needs comfort is enslaved by that need. They can't take risks, can't pursue difficult goals, can't leave bad situations if leaving means discomfort. Their need for comfort controls their entire life. The strength of self-sufficiency. The person who doesn't need comfort is free. Free to pursue what matters regardless of difficulty. Free to leave situations that don't serve them. Free to take risks. Free to grow. Free to become. This doesn't mean living in unnecessary hardship. It means not being controlled by the need for ease. Being able to be uncomfortable when it serves a greater purpose. This is true freedom. Signs of freedom from comfort. You make decisions based on values rather than on avoiding discomfort. You can pursue difficult goals without needing constant ease. You're not trapped in bad situations by fear of discomfort. You can handle setbacks without needing immediate comfort. You find satisfaction in challenge rather than in ease. The capacity for greatness. Nietzsche believed that greatness requires the ability to endure hardship, to push through difficulty, to create despite obstacles. This capacity can't develop in comfort. Every great achievement, every significant accomplishment, every moment of genuine excellence, these come through difficulty, not despite it, but because of it. Comfort produces nothing great. Only difficulty does. The modern application. Nietzsche's warning is more relevant now than when he wrote it. We have more comfort than any previous generation. More ease, more convenience, more protection from hardship. The comfort addiction. Modern society is addicted to comfort. We expect instant gratification, immediate pleasure, constant ease. Any discomfort is seen as a problem to solve, an injustice to correct, something wrong that needs fixing. This addiction weakens us, individually and collectively. We're less capable of handling difficulty, less resilient, more fragile, more dependent on external comfort and support. Modern comfort addictions. Social media validation replacing real accomplishment. Entertainment consumption replacing creative effort. Food delivery replacing cooking skills. GPS replacing navigation ability. Online research replacing deep learning. The countercultural choice. Choosing difficulty in a comfort-obsessed culture is countercultural. It's swimming against the stream. Everyone around you will think you're crazy. Why would you choose difficulty when ease is available? But this choice is what separates those who grow from those who stagnate. those who develop genuine strength from those who remain weak, those who achieve something meaningful from those who simply consume their way through life. Conclusion: the choice. Nietzsche's lesson about comfort forces a choice. You can have comfort, or you can have growth. You can have ease, or you can have strength. You can have security, or you can have greatness. But you can't have both. Most people choose comfort because it's easier, because it feels better in the moment, because everyone else is choosing it, and they live comfortable, safe, mediocre lives, never knowing what they could have become. But some people choose differently. They choose the difficult path, the uncomfortable path, the path of resistance and growth. They understand that the only way to become something extraordinary is to do extraordinary things. And extraordinary things are never comfortable. This choice isn't made once. It's made every day, every moment, every time you face the fork between the easy path and the hard path, between comfort and growth, between stagnation and development. Nietzsche's warning is clear. Comfort is seductive, but it's poison. It kills slowly, imperceptibly. By the time you realize what you've lost, it's often too late to recover it. The muscles have atrophied. The drive has died. The spirit has been anesthetized. But if you hear this warning while there's still time, you can choose differently. You can choose the hard thing, the challenging thing, the thing that requires you to grow rather than allowing you to stagnate. This doesn't mean making your life unnecessarily difficult. It means pursuing difficulty that has meaning, challenge that leads somewhere, discomfort that serves growth, and understanding that the temporary pain of growth is always preferable to the permanent regret of a life spent in comfortable mediocrity. The question Nietzsche leaves you with is simple but profound. What will you choose? The comfort that slowly kills your potential, or the difficulty that forges it into something extraordinary? Choose wisely, because the choice you make today, and tomorrow, and the day after, these choices compound, either into a life of comfortable insignificance or a life of uncomfortable greatness. The choice is yours, but you must choose, because choosing comfort by default is still a choice. And it's the choice most people make, to their eternal regret.